Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's Digital Huddle. We're so glad you guys are here. Hope you guys are enjoying this new format that we have here. And this is for Sunday the 14th. And this is a big Sunday. We have things going on like a training for life group leaders and freedom group leaders, and so many big things happening this Sunday. But we're so excited about the huddle this week because we're continuing the series that we started last week, and that is the many lessons in my life. And I was thinking about it. It's many as in MINI, like the small lessons in my life. But I was also thinking that it could be many as in MANY.
I honestly, until this moment, I thought it was MANY.
So maybe what we'll call it starting next week is the many lessons in my.
It can grow from there.
Yes. No, okay, that's too far. Anyways, the many lessons in my life, and this week, what we're talking about is this. I want you to hear this very clearly. It's going to be a little confusing, but we're gonna break it apart. And is this is the wall can hold itself up.
Mm,
The wall can hold itself up.
yes.
You're probably going, Mike, I have no idea what you're talking about. Here's what it's all about. Is whenever I was 16 years old, I was serving in a kids ministry, and I was in the kids ministry serving. I was on the team. I was on the dream team. I was there every week, but I didn't want to get out of my comfort zone and actually serve with the kids at the time. And so what I did was I just watched from the wall, and I leaned
Yep.
up against the wall a lot. And at the time, there was a kids pastor named Ted Jones who became one of the greatest influences in my life for the next 4 or 5 years. But he came up to me one day and he said, Mike, I need you to get off the wall. The wall can hold itself up. I need you over there with people.
hmm
And
And
that always stood out to me.
yeah, years later, you just used it right back to somebody
I
else.
did. I've used this many other times.
Yeah.
I've taken credit for that phrase and gone up to people and said, hey, the wall could hold itself up.
It's my favorite. It is savage, but it's my
But
favorite.
it's true. The wall can hold itself up, and what I realize is this: is that in that moment, I may have been in the right space,
Right.
but my heart was in the wrong place.
It's good.
I was in the right spot. I was there in the kids area. I was serving. I was on the dream team. I was in the right space, but my heart, it wasn't in the right place. And I feel like there's so many times that you can experience this in your own life, even outside of the church world. We see this like in work. Like you could be in the right space, you could have a great job, um, but maybe you've been really focusing on the negative of it,
hmm
and maybe you just keep on picking at it and all these things, and you find that you hate your job, even though you're in the right space. Your heart's in the wrong place, or you see this as parents. I know this is something that you have to kind of fight constantly in today's culture, but you could be with your kids in the same room as your kids. You could be in the right space, but you could also just be on your cell phone and not paying attention to them and not really parenting them. And you could have your heart be in the wrong place.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. I think it's just goes to show you how important it is um, for your own natural choice and your what do you push for, like what's important to you, what do you value. And I think a lot of times people don't sit and think about those things. They just let the day-to-day happen to them versus um, having all of these mindsets and these intentions in place,
Yeah.
and knowing what you're going to get out of the day,
Yeah.
and what you're going to infuse into the day because of that.
Yeah. Intentionally knowing where your heart is, and placing it in the right space.
Yeah.
Um, I was thinking about the story in Luke chapter 19, verse 1 through 10, and that's the story. Um, Funny thing is, it is a short story of a short man named Zacchaeus
A
and
mini.
a mini man. Um,
M-I-N.
I
Yeah.
yes. But Zacchaeus, you probably know the story, right? And Jesus is coming to town. He's a tax collector. He's not liked by his fellow town because he's a pretty crooked man. And when Jesus comes to town, he's around all these people who are trying to get close to Jesus, and he can't see over the crowd, and so he climbs a sycamore tree and he gets a better look at Jesus. And what I find in this story is that even though Zacchaeus was in the right space, he was close to Jesus in proximity. He was close to Jesus. He was around all the other people that wanted to be near Jesus. He was in the right space. his heart wasn't in the right place.
Yeah.
But even so, what I think is so interesting about this, even though his heart was in the wrong place, even though he had no intention of being in the right place with his heart, he had no intention of living for God in this moment. Jesus saw something in him and called it out of him.
Mm.
And I like that. You know, he's up here in this tree. He's distanced himself. He's separated from the crowd. He's separated from Jesus, but he's in the right space. And in that moment, God still calls him and has a purpose for him and calls him higher than where he really was. He may have been up in a tree, but he called him higher up spiritually than where he was physically.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, my mind went to so many different places there. You can you can be actively trying to have a bad day, which sounds weird, but like
Yeah.
whenever you're just in a mood and you let that mood kind of take over everything. And it's you kind of like I want to be mad, or I want to be whatever it is, because like it feels good in that moment.
Yeah.
But like when God speaks, everything shifts.
That's right.
Like it's that powerful and it's that important. But then on the other side of it, it's like, you know, we carry that authority in us. And so um, it's just equally as important um, for you to be intentional about making the best of every situation and finding the positive, finding joy, and listening to the Holy Spirit like guide you through the day, because like one word out of your mouth can shift the entire atmosphere. And you may
Mm-hmm.
not even know that, you know, it was that kind of an effect, but
Yeah.
it's important to yeah, to just to be intentional and um not let the emotions take over.
Yeah, you know, exactly. And so like what I want to tell you guys here today is this. I want to challenge you in this way. You know, I'm not known as someone who's going to pet you and give you some fluffy message and just make you feel all like it's about rainbows and butterflies. I'm just going to be honest with you and challenge you, and I want to be challenged myself because I
Yeah,
feel like we need to challenge ourselves to grow
absolutely.
and go deeper in our walk with God and go to another level. And I believe that's what this is all about. Like we're supposed to sharpen each other. The Bible talks about that iron sharpening iron, and it's not a comfortable thing. It's a chipping at each other and making each other even stronger and just being honest with each other. And so I want to push us. I want to challenge us this week to really look at ourselves and say, okay, I may be in the right space, but is my heart in the right place? Have I gone all the way that I possibly could? Have I pushed as hard as I could? You
Yeah,
know, whenever I'm in worship, am I truly leading when I'm in worship? Am I pushing as hard as I can? Maybe some days I don't feel like worshiping, but am I
yeah.
going all in worship because number one, it's good for me to engage with God in that way,
Mm-hmm.
and also I'm a leader
Yeah,
and I need to be leading other people in worship as well. And I may not feel it, but I need to make sure that my heart's in the right place even though I may be in physically the right space. I need to check my heart.
absolutely.
Maybe that means where I'm sitting in the auditorium. I truly believe that leaders sit in the front. When you sit in the back, you enable yourself to be really easily distracted. You are able to kind of slack away from the message and not truly engage in what's happening. If you really want to dig in, I mean, they teach this like in college and in school. All these, I mean, you need to sit in the front and engage in what's going on so you can grow. Take notes, and what I say all the time, note takers are history makers. Be a history maker in your life. Don't just be average. Push yourself to the next place. Push your heart to that place, even though you're in the right space. Where can you go to another level this year in 2024? I think that we can go even further.
Yeah, absolutely. And just talking about worship, like, I mean, I have had many moments, many Sundays, Wednesdays, whatever, that I show up and I'm just, you know,
Is it because you haven't had Starbucks yet?
like, you haven't brought me my Starbucks yet. No, I mean, whatever it is, like we're real people. We've gotten in arguments before Sunday, and like
Yeah.
it just your mood is off.
Yeah.
And as it's easier to just stay there. It's easier to just allow it to be
Yeah.
and allow it to happen. But like I I have pushed myself more, I think because of the way that you've spoken into my life and the way that you've
Mm.
encouraged me to lead. And then out of that was born the realization that like it doesn't matter how I feel because our God is worthy of everything that we can give him,
Yeah.
right? I don't think it was comfortable what he went through
Yeah.
whenever he was here. Um, but he still, he went through these things. He he went through the most uncomfortable thing ever. Um, and the least we could do is set our emotions, our feelings, all of these things aside and give him what he deserves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So God has called us to more. And that's the whole point of today. God has called us to more. So let's agree today to let the wall hold itself up. And even though we may be in the right space, let's check our hearts this week and make sure our hearts are in the right place.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.